love dearly. Love you guys. Sorry, I'm saying that now, sorry. Okay,
Nettie, you're allowed.
this is for Pete and Rouge. In 1990, I first met Pete on my Pittwater moving in day. After unloading, I was led to a party where the owner of the house said, "Hey." Pete welcomed me in with open arms, and I knew from that day he would be a friend for life, and for 22 years, Pete's been like a brother to me. In the early days of that decade, when living depended on luck, there was Alison and Trude and Walshy and Den, and we hung out on Pete's boat called Puck. Those were the days when Woody Point was truly a feral yacht club, and the only rule was to hoist a sail and get pissed in a rusty old tub. There were parties galore at everyone's house. We'd rage till the sky got light, and sometimes you'd end up asleep in the bush. Oops, I think that was just me that night. Who could forget the cocktail bash, dressed as a Gilligan's Island star? There must have been 300 gingers who all ended up in Holly's new spa. Sometime around then, Pete rented a house on the waterfront facing the bays, and that became known as the happiest house in those wild and halcyon days. There was always great music from Pete's stereo, and his inimitable skill tying yachts saw him rigging up tying yacht knots. Saw him rigging up shades and shelters and tarps to rival the great sailing yacht. Pete's love of cooking resulted in banquets that grew bigger and bigger each year. The traditional mid-year Yuletide feast was a sight to behold and to fear. Imagine if YouTube had been around then. Would be banished for good, for cavorting with elves, not to mention those possums who one year ate the sticky date.
The fucking possums ate it.
And one long weekend, while camping up north, Pete announced with a small bit of subterfuge that he'd been out walking on Thompson Street and met somebody gorgeous called Rouge. She was new to the island, a mystery girl, and we wondered if Pete could be smitten. He was radiant, and so we all held our breaths, because Pete had already been bitten. It seems they had both been out walking that way when Rouge and her book took respite. On a tree stump log, their eyes met and they smiled, and I think it was love at first sight. Rouge and her sister Lee had arrived, escapees from the inner city din, where Rouge worked daily and travelled a bit, so she wasn't very often in. Their first date saw Pete fly to Broken Hill to meet Rouge, who had been out bush. As romantic a gesture as the desert is red, but Pete hardly needed a push. It was secretive. Rouge was shy, meeting more of Pete's friends day by day. Our rabble was rowdy, but she soldiered on and she bravely entered the fray. Everyone wanted the best for Pete. As his friends, our intentions were true. But once we had met the gorgeous Rouge, we fell madly in love with her too. And on New Year's Eve, when the century turned...
Sorry, Nettie. You gotta take that. That was Carla! No, I'll take it tomorrow.
And on New Year's Eve, when the century turned, Rouge invited us to her workplace for the best ever party. We were right on the harbour where where the fireworks exploded in space. Rouge had an excellent photo business and successfully plied the trade, but her passion to pursue her creative self was stronger than the money she made. With courage in hand, she sold her share and leapt into full-time studies. She excelled at ceramics and her work broke new ground, despite her teachers who were old fuddy-duddies. In Lovett Bay, they made their home and broadened their offshore community. They've weathered all storms and grown together like a flourishing, timeless tree. They've been there for all of us many times with support that is never judgmental. They're always happy to lend a hand with a tipple and a bowl of red lentil. There's not one of their friends who doesn't smile at the mention of Rouge and Pete, because to know them just makes you feel good inside, like a warm and exotic treat. It's hard to believe, but together they've clocked 110 awesome years. So let's raise our glasses and celebrate with 110 birthday cheers.
That was beautiful. No. And so much fun to thoughts of old and possums and messes and cartons and the meeting of Rouge on the road. Because that's what we did. And the stump by the top. It was just. That's a secret.
Well done, Nettie.